All right, hello everybody, it's Q. I am coming at you with this YouTube video. So this one is actually going to be a back testing video. For this one, I'm actually going to be going over probably like a couple trades that I had actually taken for this week. This week for me has actually been pretty crap, which I'm sure, well, hopefully, this sounds terrible. Hopefully, I'm not the only one that's been having this type of week, because this week has been very interesting, as I am a gold trader and gold has just been ranging. But this video is actually going to be mainly a back testing video. So I just wanted to do a quick little introduction so I can go ahead and introduce myself one more time. Please do watch every other video that I do have so that you can kind of somewhat piece together what my strategy actually does look like. I do go over more in depth in other videos what my strategy does look like, but for this video you will also see here as well. Mainly what I'm going to be covering for this one is two different ways that you can backtest, because I do have two different methods of doing it. One where you will be using bar replay, and then another one where you're just going to have it, everything's going to be printed on there, and you're just going to see how you can actually had gone into the market for certain moves. So I will be covering that in this video, but if you can like, share, comment, and subscribe on this, please do. I would love to grow my following to a larger amount, because I actually, in the future, I do want to teach some people. I feel like I'm very good at coaching this skill in general to a lot of different people out there that can benefit off of this. I do enjoy actually doing that. So please do like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with your friends. And if you are interested in any of the coaching that I can offer you, please feel free to direct message me on either Instagram or on here as well, or just shoot me a quick little comment and I'll get back to you as well. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And let's get to the rest of the video. Going on, YouTube family, so thank you for tuning in for another video of mine. So like I said in the intro, I'm actually going to go ahead and cover a trade that I have taken this week, and then I'm going to do another like back testing portion to show you how I actually go about it. Again, I have two different methods of going about back testing. What I'm going to show for this one is going to be more like a bar replay, just so you can see what I was thinking in hindsight to understand why I had actually taken a loss today, because as you can see here, the market has been on that bull, man. The market has been on that bullshit. It's been on that bullshit, and it's been actually very hard to trade. I only trade gold, which makes trading a little bit more difficult during this time, because we have just been in a very, very hard range to catch a decent move, because there's always a movement in the opposite direction. Like, it's very hard for you to catch a really decent move unless you trade either Asian session, which is when typically like the move just starts for God knows why. It decides to move at the most random session of them all. Or you are going to catch like something very small and you kind of get lucky whether or not you hit like a 1 to 3. At least in my case, and with like how the way I trade, it's been very difficult for me to trade these past like 3 weeks to almost like a month and some change, because ever since the start of May, we have literally just been in this range from here to like here. And as you can see, we've just been stuck in this box. We came up here, we came all the way back down. We came down here, we came all the way back up. Very confusing, very hard to trade. And also on top of that, it's also kind of hard to trade, at least what I've experienced just from doing this for 4 years, is that it's hard for me to trade when every day is a different color. Like, yeah, there's these like, you know, these few days where it goes in one direction, but man, look at this shit. What the fuck is that? Never seen gold do this. So, or at least while I've traded it, I've only been trading gold for the past like almost a year now at this point. But anyways, let me get back into the trade. So the trade I had taken for today was actually going to be a short position that I was looking to take off of this area around here. So I was looking to take a short around this zone here. Now, the reason I is because when you have gone out to a 4-hour time frame, what I was looking at was that we are still bearish mainly on the 4-hour, because we see that we had broke a low point right here. So we made a lower low. So what comes after a lower low? Typically a lower high. What comes after a lower high? Typically a lower low. So what I had seen is that we had broken a support level. We are also mainly below the MA as well. And then on top of that, we had this bearish variation that had formed here on the 4-hour time frame that you can see. And if you were to zoom in just to even confirm that variation, you can see here that we had broke a level of support on this 30-minute, which was our last higher low point, and we also broke out of this counter trend line. So we had two confirmations that the market was looking to go lower, and well, we were looking to go lower. But price had decided to make a move back to the upside. So when I had seen and I had actually gotten to the market, I got to the market after this 3 o'clock candle had closed. I start to trade around 4. That's when I get up and start to interact with the market. So I had got up. This is what I had seen. So I had actually adjusted my trend line just to make it make a little bit more sense, where you see that you have this buyer's exhaustion touching the back of this, because this trend line is still valid regardless of kind of how you draw it, as long as it's wick to wick. So we had made this push up. I had seen this amount of buyer's exhaustion back to back on top of that. So back-to-back buyer's exhaustion to me is going to mean that we are starting to get ready to flow to the downside. So where I had started to look for an entry was that I had went down to a 3-minute, where we could see this counter trend here on this 30, essentially, where you see that you have higher lows being formed, another higher low. And what I wait for is to see the market shift back into what I need to see. So what I was waiting for was a break of 3 out of the main confirmations that I do have. So as you can see here, you have a counter trend line that you can plot, and then also this support level that was right here. I had gotten a break of support with this bearish movement right here, so that was already broken by the time I had gotten to the market. And then what I was just now waiting for was that, okay, did we break also this counter trend line? At the very least, I need 2 out of 3 confirmations in order for me to get in. Preferably, obviously, what makes it A plus would be 3 out of 3, but I have 2 out of 3 confirmations. So for me, this one is going to be more ranked as like a B plus setup, more like a B plus A minus, just depends on which direction I'm going and if the market is actually heading in that direction, which majority of the market was. But you go back out. I had entered on this 3-minute variation right here. This 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as soon as these 4 had formed, I entered. So whether or not I had entered on this one or even this one, I still took an L, because the market had decided to actually retrace a lot deeper than what I was anticipating. Right? Typically, whenever you see a new low be made, I'm looking for a lower high. Do we have confluence in this area? Absolutely, because we're retesting the backside of this. We're sitting at the 78.6, and we are getting consistent amounts of buyer's exhaustion to the upside. So this was starting to show me that we were ready to actually make a reversal here. Clearly, we did not. So price had decided to maintain a very, very minor level of support on a 3-minute, which honestly, this was the last thing I was waiting for. So I had entered, I had seen it made this little minor move up, didn't take me out yet, and then it made a push back down to bring it back to break even. So what I like to typically do is that, okay, when a market makes a counter trend against me specifically, I actually will start to track it just to see if I can start to see this analysis flow the way I was looking for. So what I had seen at this point was that we did have a solid push out. We made a pretty decent push to the outside, but then we were failing to break this level of support. And like how I typically go, I want to see 2 out of 3 confirmations to get in. So if the market had actually made a decision to break the support level genuinely, I was going to get another entry and then probably keep my stop loss like either at this level right here or like slightly above here, because we had those confirmations to say that we were flowing to the downside, especially with us now being slightly below the MA at that point in time. But as you see, it held this level of support, the strongest level of support I've ever seen on a 3-minute, and it just completely pushed up. So it just completely rallied all the way to the upside. I was still in a bearish bias, but I did not see an opportunity for me to get in when it had made that push all the way up. The only reason I say that is because when it had made this move, I had to kind of sit back, reanalyze. I sat down. I didn't touch the market for like an hour. I let it do the bullshit, pretty much, as some people like to call it. I let the market do the bullshit and then reanalyze. So what I'm looking at here, just to zoom out and make it less choppy or less confusing at the very least, I see that we had a level of support here, maintain another one here, and then we had a very, very minor level of support right here as well. So this is like one area that I was interested in. Now, the only thing is that, again, I need 2 out of 3 confirmations. So I plot a counter trend line. Let's see if I can plot one. If I can, then I will. So I have a counter trend line plotted. I also have a support level that I know I need to break, and the moving average that I need to be under as well for me to say, let's get in. So I had seen this happen. We had made this overall bearish engulfing on like a 30-minute that put us here. So this bearish variation right here, this 1, 2, and 3 had put us here, which broke below that level of support. But for the sake of trying to get in a trade, I didn't have anywhere for my stop loss to go. Like, unless it was going to be just above this, which I don't typically like to do. I like, especially when I'm entering on this without getting an additional lower high, I will typically like to have my stop loss above that lower high. So what I like to see, and what the trades that typically are like more high probability, is going to be when the market actually does this movement here, where it makes this move to the downside, makes like 100% retrace, gives you a lower high in some capacity, whether it be like even here and then pushes, or even potentially a little bit higher up and then pushes down. That gives me some clue to say that, okay, we're going to get that break. And if we do, you're good to enter, because we had that shift in the structure at the very least as well. Versus right here, where we literally went from bottom to top to bottom. There was no shift. There was nothing. It was just straight break. You broke to the upside and you broke to the downside, all within like one swing, pretty much. One swing up, one swing down. And again, this is the only candle I could see that would have made sense to get in on, but the area for stop loss just didn't make sense to me, because it would have to be either right here, which there's not much here that really supports why the stop loss should be here. It would more than likely be all the way the hell up here. And, granted that what I'm looking for on a bigger scheme is going to be a way larger move, but in order for me to catch a 1 to 2 would require me to pretty much be in this trade for like 3 days, because the market is just moving very slow. And typically when the market moves this choppily, especially, as you can see here on a daily, it just gave you 2 back-to-back doji. So we have no decision in the market as to what we want to do for the next day either. So tomorrow is a mystery, and I don't like that. So I wouldn't want to take this trade, and I'm not a swing trader either. So if you can't give me something on like a 5 to 30 minute type of entry, I'm typically not going to enter, or I would rather wait for some lower time frame opportunity to get in with the flow, because trying to get in on a higher time frame just means I'm going to be in this trade for a longer time, obviously, because you're going based off of like a 30 minute, which typically, again, I do not like. Now, the only reason why this sell was actually still an option in my head was because we had this level of resistance maintained. We're still on the backside of this counter trend line, so nothing really says that we're going to be buying just yet. We're just making a really deep retrace to me. Still maintain this level. We had this bearish engulfing, not necessarily any type of buyer's exhaustion, except for when we had made this. That was the only first sign that you really did have. When it had did this probably could have been a decent entry point, but there was, again, no confirmation for me to get in. That would have been a complete confidence entry for me to take that. And those are just ones I'm not willing to take at this point in time in my career, where, especially with these like Trump markets, you need all the confirmation you can get, because this motherfucker will take you for a ride, especially gold. It has been taking me for a ride so far this week. But that is the trade that I had taken for today, and just looking over what hindsight I could have done. In hindsight, what I could have done better was probably just wait for a better like break of the support level, instead of getting like these very small 1-2. And then even on top of that, the same way how I apply the rule to like this one, I should have applied the rule here, where we had that push out below, but it doesn't really make a genuine like low, especially with that exhaustion right there on that 5 minutes. So that was the only other thing I could see I could have done better. Had I probably waited for the MA to actually make a cross, or for the price action to make a cross below, that would have been more of a for sure confirm, versus like clearly here, when you have a break below the MA, the market decides to go in your favor, versus what I had gotten over here. But it is what it is. I had taken this trade in full confidence, and you just take the loss to the chin and come back the next day. But that is what I had looked at for today. That is what I had taken for today. It was one and done. I wasn't going to try and put up more money for the rest of the day and just lose it, especially with the way that the market was acting. And clearly we have no movement whatsoever. So that is what I had taken for today. But now on to the backtesting portion. for the backtesting portion of the video. So for this one, I'm going to be backtesting on US30. So I don't touch this asset whatsoever. Like, I've probably traded this thing maybe like 3 times in the past, and that was probably like 2 years ago. So I've never traded this asset a day in my life, really, in the live market, but I know a lot of people that actually do trade this one, and it is something that I would look to get into the future, so I'm just going to practice on here. But this one is going to be the bar replay backtesting, and again, this is just how you backtest. This is how I practiced it. This is how it's helped me also make some money in the actual live market as well, outside of today. But yeah, so this is how I do backtest. So as you'll see here, this is just how my strategy actually does work, or at least how I analyze the market. And then you will see how I also manage to show how I will get into the market, just because you are playing this as if it is the live market. That is what you're supposed to be simulating. You're supposed to be simulating that you don't know what happens next, so that you can essentially test your strategy to see if your strategy would have been profitable for that day, or just profitable for that whatever time period that you're looking to trade. So for here, US30, I did some previous backtesting here, so please do excuse these notes, but this is what I'm going to be looking at now. That's a better angle. Okay, stick with that. CT stands for counter trend. Sorry if you don't. And then you'll see probably along here if I put CTL, counter trend line, you know. Yeah. So daily, actually, no, I'm gonna say daily bullish. Say bullish just because the reason I'm going to say bullish is because we are above the MA, and then we're also making these higher lows, and we made a full like 100% retrace, so I'm not really assuming that this is going to just plummet at some point, especially with it being the biggest stock market of them all too, or indice of them all, that the odds are this thing won't just fall straight to hell in one day. Okay. Yeah, this is fairly choppy. So what I'm looking at here is that obviously if we're more bullish on the daily as well, that's my bias for the daily time frame at the moment. What I'm looking at right here is trying to figure out where the actual flow is for this move to the upside, because obviously we made like just one move up, one move down, and then we're making like that move up. Even if you were to go out to like a line chart, you can kind of see that as well there. Let's clear that up. Yeah, so you can see here we have like a genuine like move up, a genuine move down, and a genuine push up. So what I just want to do is kind of mark off where these like higher lows are going to be at essentially. So right here, so clearly there's some level of support here, and clearly there's some level of support there. It's a matter of what time frame I see it on. So let's start with the 4, because we can always go lower. So on the 4 time frame, you can see this level of support here. That's very obvious. A little bit cleaner, and then obviously we're making higher highs and higher lows on the 4 hour. So I'm gonna say 4 hour bullish, and we're also below the MA as well. So. Or we're above it, sorry. I keep saying things backwards. So we have that. We also had this point of resistance here that we are now trading above. So that's always a good sign. So what I'm looking at here at the moment is that we could be looking for our overall push through this level of daily resistance. I had to understand that like this is still a level of daily resistance, so there is that possibility that it actually just does maintain this area. But at the moment in time, just based on how everything is pushing up into here, so just to make it make sense and make sense of how I actually look at this. So on the daily time frame, this is all just one leg, right? This is one leg to the upside. Now, when you break this down on a lower time frame, such as the 4 hour, you can see it's one leg where you've been just consistently making these higher lows. This one's kind of lower high, but then you made another higher low right here. And then you also could plot that just to see that we have this more buying pressure, especially right now on the 4 hour as well. So what I'm seeing as we push up into this daily area is that I want to see that these higher lows are being maintained. If I see a shift in that where it goes from higher low to lower high, that would be an indication that we could potentially see a shift. So essentially what I want to see is this. Right, this is just all I want to see. I don't want to see anything other than that. Now, if I do start to see this, for example, as soon as this is confirmed as a lower high, as soon as this is confirmed a lower high, my bias for what could potentially happen from here is going to slowly start to shift. Now, this does not mean that structure is broken. This does not mean that we are completely to the downside, but this is the first indication that on a daily time frame, we could be seeing this area actually hold true, because lower time frame builds up what the higher time frame looks like. So as you see here, we have, again, that push out. So just to break down what this leg right here will look like, typically I like to actually kind of circle this just so I can see what I need to be focusing on instead of focusing on the big picture. So for the 4 hour, I will jump straight to a 30 just to see if I can get the cleanliness of structure here, which you kind of can. You can see that we made higher low, high, higher low. Now we do have this slight lower high right here, which is a thing to actually pay attention to. But then again, we did make a higher low. So at the moment in time, what are we doing? So on the daily, we're up in this area kind of testing it. But on this previous day, we came up with this thing into full momentum, and it was a bullish engulfing on top of that. So for me personally, I'm not really assuming anything based on this daily time frame until the daily actually closes with a tested candle. Now I see here on the 4 hour, clearly we went bullish and then we went bearish, and then kind of the same sequence again. So what I'm now trying to figure out from here is going to be, are we going to genuinely push through this resistance point? The only reason I say that is because I want to see a full bullish continuation above this area that would actually confirm that we are breaking this level of 4 hour resistance. Now, the main thing that does say that we could still look for buys based on this time frame is going to be the fact that we are on the backside of this counter trend line. So we have a breakout of this counter trend line, which is a great sign, because now we know that this area is not necessarily more bearish, or at least trying to hold bearish for the time being. And then on top of that, we closed above and we're staying above. And then another one is that we are above the MA, and the MA is pointing up, right? Just if you need some quick little analysis, MA is pointing up. What is this doing? It's curving up. So that is pointing up. Now, if you break this down, let's see if the structure is still maintaining higher highs and higher lows. So as you can see here, where we had made this tiny little shift, I do want to plot a counter trend line for that just to see, okay, what is that telling me when we get that counter trend line, or this lower high right here? We haven't broken any levels of support, which is a great sign, because as long as we don't break any major levels, which you can tell based on your 30-minute, which obviously you have this swing up, major level here, major level here, major level here, and then you pushed up. So as long as we don't break these levels of support, I am still more mainly bullish at the time being. Now, what this counter trend line is going to tell me is when that bearish volume leaves the market. That's what I'm really tracking here. I'm not tracking what you could do and see it potentially fall to the downside. What I'm tracking is, am I going to see this bearish volume leave the market at some point in time? That's all I want to see right now. So with that being said, we are bullish here on the 30-minute. So that's very apparent in this case too. Let's see if I can get a pretty decent upwards trend line that makes sense. That's not bad. Let's try it from here. That's still not bad. It's pretty much the same thing. Let's try it from here. I prefer that angle. Okay. So what do we have so far? So for the sake of this, we are still above the MA, and the MA is still pointing up, so this shows more bullish just based on this alone. Structurally, we are still more bullish, and then on top of that, we also do have this push out of this counter trend line and a push out above this level of resistance. Now, what I'm going to actually go onto a lower time frame and see is going to be mainly this right here, is that I want to see if the lower time frame structure is still trying to continue through this area, which would confirm this as a break. Because if I start to see on the lower time frame, such as going straight to a 5, and we can see here that we are getting higher lows, higher low, higher low, another higher low, and then this minor lower high right here. That to me is actually going to be an indication that the market could push to the downside. Now, the only reason I say that is because, or at least we can have a retracement, is because we have the lower time frame not as strong as you would like it to be. Granted, no higher low, no true higher low has really broken. Like, nothing has genuinely broken that says like, hey, we're going to entirely reverse. You do have, again, like these kind of more minor ones where like this is kind of a minor one, but since I can see it on the line chart, I would consider it more of a major, where like you can see here, it was trending down, you're now trending up, and then as soon as it decides to break this level, which according to this, it does, then you're going to be seeing us kind of retrace back to the downside. Now, for me, typically what I like to do is that I like to say that, okay, if we're going to be trending to the downside like that, what I like to see is us actually break out of this to confirm that we are seeing more buyers at this point in time. So what does this mean for me? Right, we have somewhat of like a quote unquote like new high, but we really just have more of a break out of this kind of trend line because we didn't go full bullish. We went bullish, bearish, right? The same sequence as before. So that's not confirming to me that we've broken this. Now, we do have 2 out of 3 confirmations that does say that this market is more bullish at the time being. Now, what that would be actually the fact that we have a break of this counter trend line. What will confirm this break for me would actually be this bullish engulfing candle right here. After you got this closure beyond it, this, and then you gave me this. So that to me confirms that we are now pushing bullish. And then on top of that, we are still above the MA. If we were below the MA and this happened, it'd be a completely different story. But this is currently the situation. So for right now, what I'm going to be focusing on is what potentially could happen from here. So I understand that overall, for what I'm looking for, is going to be a bullish move because we have nothing but bullish time frames in sync with each other. So why would I fight the trend when we clearly know what the trend is, which clearly is going to be bullish? Every time frame says buy, not one honestly says sell, or at least sell pretty strongly. So what you're seeing here is a potential for us to actually push back down. We do have this higher low point that we did form there, but we want to see if that does end up breaking, which in this case I would say it broke right here because you have well, maybe not yet. Let me get one more candle. Okay, again, this, you have to treat it as if it's a live market. So what would you be analyzing at this point? I would be analyzing to see if the 30-minute, because again, this is building up the 30-minute time frame. I'm analyzing to see if the 30-minute time frame is going to eventually flip to push back down. Because if it does flip to push back down, that means I'm not ready for any type of buy just yet. So if I go to a 5-minute time frame, again, just want to see, okay, what are we doing? Have we broken out of a trend line that says, hey, we can see that move potentially back to the downside? Is there anything that gives me some indication that this is not continuing up? And also another piece of info is that what you really don't want to do is enter a buy position at the highest point. So like, even if this was kind of continuing up, I wouldn't necessarily like this buy position because we're at the high point. Like, we're at resistance. Why would you buy at resistance? So as you see here, boom, boom. This right here confirms to me that we broke. So what does this now say that could happen from here? To me, this says that we could see us push bearish. So now I'm going to be tracking more of this counter trend more than anything else. So now I see that we had broken a level of support. I'm looking for this to pull back. I'm looking for it to pull back, and I'm looking for it to pull back into an area of confluence for me to get a buy position. So let's go to a higher time frame just to see what that kind of does look like for right now. As you can see here, this 4-hour candle closed at 4 o'clock, right? Yeah, closed at 4 o'clock. No, closed at 5. We have this main bullish engulfing, which does it break a level of resistance with that bullish engulfing? No. So it's decent, but it's not confirmed. Yeah, it doesn't confirm anything because we didn't break that level of resistance. We broke a very minor one here, if you want to call it that. But even then, it's a little bit tricky. So either way, so at the moment, I understand that we are now just on this retrace. So I'm not really looking for anything just yet. So I want to let the market kind of play out its thing. So no, not interested just yet. Especially, again, just don't want to buy a resistance. These candles, I mean, these look decent, right? Because it was bullish, but then this one's really weak. And then you give me this. So I'd rather just kind of sit out for right now. And especially since we're an hour and a half from market open. Again, I am Central Standard Time. So for me, market open is 8:30, not 9:30. Okay. Let's try this. Right, lower high, lower high. Pushed up, higher low, lower high, and then yeah, okay. Yeah, so for right now, I'm definitely not interested in taking any position just yet, just because this is too much of like a consolidated area. This would have been like kind of cool for like, you know, a scalp position, but outside of that, no. Okay, and then I wouldn't enter a trade, especially like 30 minutes before market open, just because you're going to get so much freaking volume at that point in time that the odds of you winning during that time, especially entering right at that, is going to be very low. So as you see here, boom, literally just melted. Unless you were looking for a sell opportunity, this doesn't really make any sense. Okay. So the market pushes down. Again, I'm looking for a buy position, so I'm not going to look to take anything, especially up here. It didn't give me anything that I was necessarily liking. This is a 23.6 and a failed 23.6 at that, so I'm not interested. So now what do I see is that we made a full retrace. So for me, this is my methodology at this point, is that this is the level. Like, this is the level that I'm looking to take a buy position off of. I'm sorry for all the noise outside. This is the buy position I'm looking to take a buy. Sorry, this is the level of support I'm looking to take a buy position off of. Reasoning is because this is my 100% retrace. Right, anything between here and here would have been fine. Anything between literally like here and here would have been fine. This is my last level. If it blows through here, then the whole thing got to flip, and then my analysis is like completely incorrect. Lowest I'm looking for it to go. So currently at the moment, I would really honestly analyze to see if I can see anything better potentially. So like on the 5 minute, you can see it. Not too bad necessarily right here. It's not terrible. This is your last like kind of lower high. This one is to an extent. And not really. I'll go to more like a 3 minute to see if I can see it better. I want to do this. So on a 3 minute, boom. Okay, push down. Okay, so on a 3 minute, that's what you're looking at here. Candlesticks. You can stick with the candlestick chart. It doesn't really confuse it too much. And I hope you guys kind of notice how I am, as weird as it might sound, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking myself through what I'm seeing. Because you want to trade what you see, not what you think. And I'm seeing this. That's why I'm saying it out loud. So then I'm mentally realizing I am pushing to the downside right now. So I'm not interested in taking any type of buy. Now, what I would like to see, honestly, is some type of exhaustion down here in order for me to get in. We are still bullish because we haven't broken this level of support. Again, we had this breakout of this kind of trend line, so I'm not necessarily worried about this because we were on the buy side of this. Granted, we are on the sell side of this one. We haven't broken support. And again, you want to see at least like 2 out of 3 confirmations that give you reason to head in a certain direction, which this one would be only one confirmation. If we break here, that would be confirmation number 2. And if we broke the MA with some seriousness, then that would be confirmation number 3. But the MA is still below the market and it's still pointing up in the same instance. So no. So really just kind of waiting for the market to kind of give me something that says, hey, either we're going to hold this area or we're going to flip from this area, or one of the two. Only 2 things can happen. You sell or you buy. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, cool. So what do I see here is that on a lower time frame, you can see that we are still maintaining these lower highs. Kind of like a minor one, but this is a little bit better. Maintaining lower highs that push us to the downside. Now, what you can plot, though, is this. Only reason you can plot it because you have a genuine lower high point now. We have a real lower high. Like if you go to a line chart, you can genuinely see this. All right, we have a lower high here, all one move down, and actual push back up, all one move down. So let's go to a 30-minute, see if this area is acting as broken here. So by the time it had made that candle, I don't think this is completed yet. No. So it goes back up. So let's see. So boom, 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 boom. Okay. So push back up. On a 30-minute, are we broken? No. We're maintaining this area as support. This green MA is like my last level. If it blows through there, then more than likely the whole thing's done. But it is holding this area as a level of support, as deep as it might be. I don't like it, but it is doing its job. Okay. So now what do you have? Now you have a planned entry. You have a plan for the entry at the very least, because you can see a kind of trend line. Okay, so that would be 1 out of the 3 confirmations. You have a level of resistance. If it breaks here, that'd be 2 out of 3 confirmations. And then you have the MA, which is above the market, which when the market actually decides to get back above it, that would be confirmation number 3. So now it's a matter of just waiting for my entry to appear. And if it does, take it. If it doesn't, it doesn't happen. Okay, so this is something I do want to note, is that as awkward as this might be right here, as awkward as this might be right here, this is a higher low. Like on the candlestick chart, it doesn't look the best, but as awkward as that is right here, this is a higher low because it just went from higher low to higher high. So that confirmed us as a higher low once it did that push up. So now what are you also seeing in all instances at the same time? Well, okay, so you had a breakout of this counter trend line confirmed with this. Boom. So that's 1 out of 3 confirmations. Now I need the second one. So second one is boom, boom. Once you had given me 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 candles above this level of resistance, you tell me that you are broken now at this point. Now, the better way for me to get in is to wait for this third confirmation, which is a break above the MA. Same way how, like I said, for this 30-minute is that this green one was our last level of like hope, essentially. Kind of the same instance right here where you're pushing above the black one, which is the main MA that you pay attention to, but this one is still something you have to watch out for. And on top of that, the MA is still pointing down at the moment. So until I start to get more of like a curve, I'm not necessarily too interested until it starts to like even start to curve in my direction. So I waited out, and preferably I would like to enter on a higher low point as well. So I'm not interested just yet. Okay, boom. So as soon as it does this, this one would be an okay entry. Now the reasoning I say this would be an okay entry is because you have all 3 now. Where not only did we broke above this green one, which is confirmation in and of itself, because you could have, and this is an actual like potential entry, is that you could have entered here, but your stop loss would have to be here until this happened. Until this happened, you have to put your stop loss here, which for me, I'm going to put it at like 100 points, which, it's valid. But if I have a better entry opportunity, I would rather wait, and especially considering that we didn't have this at that point in time, I'm going to wait it out. So you go to here, boom, you see that you have a level of support that was formed with that bullish engulfing. I would move it to 750 pips worth of space just to give myself some type of breathing room, because this is US 30. There is volatility to this thing, and it definitely will spike you out if it can. So that's what I'm looking at here. I would take that entry because you have all three confirmations. Again, if you don't have the confirmations, don't take the trade. If you don't have the confirmations, don't take the trade. That's how I operate. That's how my strategy operates. If I do not have confirmation of this thing starting to push in my favor, I will not take that entry. Until this happens, I'm not touching shit. So that goes like that. You see in a 30-minute time frame that we are maintaining this level of support. So I'm not bearish. Perfectly fine there. Nothing says otherwise. So I would enter off of that. And then for the sake of a target, you would be targeting and no, honestly, you could target just back up to where that high was. You could target for this, but that's very unrealistic, at least for today. But that would be valid right there. It's targeting for our last high, or this like zone right here, because this one gives us some price action to the left that says, hey, this was an area that we can get to because we've done it. So this would be my main target right here. Obviously, you have TP1, which would be at a 1-to-1, TP2, which would be at a 1-to-2 as well. So now it's a matter of, let's see if it pushes up. It pushes up into the zone. So as soon as it got to the zone, this would be where I would start to actually monitor my trade a lot closer. In all honesty, I'd probably close it as soon as I got this exhaustion candle right here. This one wouldn't scare me too much, just because we have straight momentum and then it's indecision. It's not a decision, versus this one where this candle right here told you, hey, we decided we're tired of buying. Exhaustion, buyer's exhaustion. We're tired of buying. Versus this one, we don't know what we want to do. All right. So that would be kind of my entry / exit from here for this move right here, just because I don't want to be in anything too late in the day, especially with the fact that this was entered at like 11, and by the time this happened, it's 1 o'clock, right? So at 1 o'clock, we had finally hit the gray zone. Not really interested in trying to be in a trade until the next day, because after 1 o'clock, things do start to slow down typically. So that would be trade number one. All right, and as you saw the entire progression literally from top to bottom. So that would be how you would backtest something like this. That is how you would do this one. So in the next one, I will show you how you backtest when everything is actually printed. So when everything is actually printed, it's going to be a completely different story. So for this one, for example, I'm going to kind of delete all of this just so I'm not confusing myself. I like to delete my intraday stuff just so, again, I'm not confusing myself with a level from yesterday that is no longer valid, especially after like a day or two. So what you're looking at now, just kind of clear this up because wow, it's messy. So this is really messy. So what you're going to be doing for this version of backtesting, so you don't really have the bar replay on anymore because you're just looking at what the market has done. You're not looking into the past to try and predict what the future is going to do, because that's how you would trade in the live market. This is you actually looking at what the market did do for that day. Now this is how you would backtest in this fashion. So you have all of your analysis put up, right? You already saw that earlier. I have my entire analysis put up of what I'm looking for this market to do, which is essentially get to this negative 61.8 or just higher in general, for us to push beyond this area and potentially even end up at something like here, or potentially even here, way from before. I'd probably say more of this one because this is closer and it actually lines up with that negative 61. So this one would be more realistic of where I'm aiming for. Now, for what you would do when you're backtesting like this, you would find the move that you would be interested in trying to get in. So for example, if I was to trade this, I wouldn't start trading this asset until probably around like 4 or 5 a.m., probably closer to 5 because it gets me closer to market open, considering you have 3.5 hours before then. So you would get closer to market open as possible. So let's say I started trading at 5 o'clock, or I just want to see, okay, how can I have gotten into this overall like push right here? So what you're looking at is, okay, on the 4-hour time frame, we see that we had made a level of support right here, which had made that push up. Do we break a level of resistance that confirms this? We do have a break of a level of resistance officially from this one because this is just tested. I would even beg to differ that I would pull it from like here. Right, this entire area is just tested. You went bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, and especially a drop like that. So this area is tested versus here where you kind of more made an official break to an extent, or at least you broke it at the very minimum here. Like this is an official break when you bullish, bullish, boom, cool. So you did break a level of resistance when you did make that 4-hour bullish engulfing as well, because it just continued up. So now what you'd be looking at is going to be this potentially. Okay, you can see it on both time frames. So for this move up, that's better angle. Okay. Bearish, bullish. Weak ass candle, then you get this. Okay. So by the time I got to the market, it would be from pretty much here forward, right? This is what I'm analyzing right here. This entire thing. So you're going to choose a move in the market. Now, when you see a move in the market, typically you want to find a move in the market that would actually align with your trading plan. Like, for example, you're not going to take this move right here because that's a counter trend trade. You're not going to take this move because it's a counter trend trade. Same thing with this one. Like, the whole reason I stayed away from this one when I was backtesting it is because it's a counter trend trade. I don't want to take a counter trend trade when we're clearly pushing bullish. Like, everything on the 4-hour time frame still says bullish. Everything on the daily time frame still says bullish. Nothing's really tripping out there. Just when you break down this area right here, obviously very messy, very, very, very choppy. The 1 hour would kind of give you a clearer depiction of what this area does look like, especially with the fact that this is a kind of confusing when the market does this. Now, the good thing you have here that says this area is not really broken is this exhaustion, especially this one. All these exhausted wicks right here is your first sign to be like, okay, well, the market could reverse because we're not really attempting to go through necessarily in this case. We're kind of more or less holding to an extent. And then even if you just go to a 1 hour, because again, this entire area is just choppy as fuck. Typically, I would jump straight to the 30 minutes just to see this area, right? But if you go between 30 and a 1 hour, it all looks exactly the same, right? There's nothing really different between the two. Right, you analyze your main lows, which is here, maintained to here, boom, here. And it really, if you look at it like this, it to an extent almost maintains it. It really just depends on what this right here looks like, right? Because this is your main support level. Versus if you go to like a 1 hour, it looks a little bit better, and it actually does look like it mainly maintained this area. So you can go back out, see what the candles do look like. Again, 30 minute. Again, biggest indication is that we didn't break on this initial one. And then all this exhaustion is what comes after. So I'm not really interested in seeing that this area is broken. And the only reason I would or even wait a little bit longer to see if this area broke, like officially, would be the fact that it would like push way beyond it. Now, what you're looking at here, this gets confused. This is really choppy. This is really, really choppy. Jesus. You don't really get a lower high. It just kind of goes. Yeah, okay. And then the MA is flat by the time you get here. So it's more consolidation than anything else. So the odds are that you could push up. Okay. So what I'm looking at in this case would be, one, did we break this level? According to this, no. Especially when you go to like a 1 hour, just to kind of confirm it a little bit better. I would say no, because you have a lot of exhaustion to the downside. And even on top of that, you can go to this time frame to see, did we break the lower time frame structure to push us up? In this case, we did. So again, if I'm not starting to trade until 5, I want to see what happens, which we do have this break here. It does indicate that we are now pushing to the upside. So this indicates that we're going to get that move up. The only thing that's very confusing in this is that on a 30-minute, we broke a trend line. We broke a trend line, and then we broke below the MA. So this would be very tough to trade. I'm not going to lie to you. So to see if we're still going to really push up would be a maintain of these higher lows. Which honestly, I want to see if I can see it on 15 a little bit better. To an extent. I mean, yes and no. Yeah. But that would happen after. Let's try the 5. Yeah, because this is lower high, higher low, makes a poof up, and then boom, we got this. Ugh. Yeah, it's just choppy. Okay, I would stick with the 15. That is confusing as fuck. When you have literally like all this extraness, and then you get this, and then you break a support, and then you start to push down, and then you push back up. Like, you have way too much going on. Yeah, because you made a level support here, then you push down, then you made another level support here, then you push down, which really more maintained. Which is crazy. Huh, okay. So how you would get into this, in all honesty, if you're looking at it from a buy perspective, would be on... Honestly, it would be either like this or this one. Because if you're still in an overall bullish bias, like I'm not thinking that this thing is just pushing straight down just yet, just because we don't have like a confirmation of a lower high or like a break of support or anything that really confirms that we're going to completely reverse in this case. Yeah, and this will confirm it as the official lower high or higher low, sorry. Yeah, okay. So what you would be looking at here is that the market overall is still maintaining this level of support, even as awkward as this looks. It's maintaining this level of support. I'm going to get rid of this because that's going to confuse the hell out of you if you do not. Now, how you're going to get in would be mainly on the fact that we have broken this level of resistance right here, or even if you wanted to plot this counter trend line, you could plot that counter trend line as well, where you can see that you have a push out, right? You have boom, lower high, another lower high, then you have this breakout when it had made this officially right here. So this will confirm to me that we are broken out of this counter trend line, and then this right here will confirm to me that we broke resistance, or even kind of more like this. And then on top of that, you have a break above the MAs. As soon as it closes above this green one, that does more confirm to me that we are more bullish, especially pushes back down, gives you what I call an entry base point. It gives you that entry base point. As soon as it does that, I'm going to be looking for an area for my stop loss to go, which aligns with this one. It puts me below this lower high. I'm okay with that. I would get in on something like this and then look to take it back to the upside. Now, again, it is just very confusing in the aspect where you have that break of that trend line in that instance, but also in the same instance, you have a lot of exhaustion to the downside based on this 4 hour, especially if it transfers over, which it does on these lower time frames. Yeah, this right here, these exhaustion candles or wicks, to me would not indicate, especially back to back, it would not indicate that we want to go further down. Not until we got like a full break, and then I would enter like on a break and a retest in that instance. That would be the only reason I would say sell in this case, because granted you had a break of a trend line to the upside and like a attempt to break lower here. You have back-to-back exhaustion, which transfers over to other time frames, so it's not like you see it on one, you don't see it on the other. You do. And then on top of that, you also do have this bullish variation that forms here on the 30 minute. So, okay, you're kind of more or less maintaining. And then the next one would be that you are also breaking out of this, especially with that 30-minute variation. If this 30-minute variation happened and it did not break a level of resistance, that would be a little bit more confusing. But it did in the same instance. I can see potential as into why you would enter a sell position here. I can see the reasoning as into why. It just wouldn't have actually played out the way you needed it to, because you never had a break of either or with some genuine momentum, because this is your real high or low. These are all like really minor, and especially with the fact that like kind of gives you some bullshit after the fact. Really minor. And again, you can see that on like the real high or low is this on a 5 minute. So as long as it never broke this one right here, you were still good to hold the buy. And then as soon as it made this, as long as it never broke this one right here, you were still good to hold the buy. And you probably could have got another entry opportunity in the same aspect too, where as soon as it gives you this, right, probably this would be a little too late. Honestly, probably as soon as it gave you this right here, or even potentially where you could have got like a scale in, is that this right here is where you could have got probably like a scale in, is this zone entire thing right there. And yeah, this one would have been a little bit tricky, but your scaling position honestly could have been this. Yeah. It's a higher low. And especially with the fact that it went as sideways as it did right there, it's a higher low. You have a break of the counter trend line, breaking a retest of the counter trend line, which is even better. And then you're also above the MA in the same instance. So you have 2 out of 3 confirmations. The last one would be the breakout. So either you could have entered on this candle right here, or you could have entered on the push out of this. But then your stop loss would have went just simply below this area. What it did, 50 points. Same target, as you see right there. So you had 2 ways to get into this move. This 1 minute would have been way riskier to some extent, even though you have like everything now flowing in your favor. It's just that you're on a 1 minute, and 1 minute trades just aren't the most like I wouldn't say confident, but they're not the strongest. You have that, or you have this original entry way down here, which obviously you profit off of way more, but you also have to deal with way more bullshit. So it really just depends on your psychology, and that also plays a big factor as into what type of trader you are. Because if you're a person that doesn't like to hold through this shit, or you are someone that only has a certain amount of time that you can dedicate to the charts, and then you psych yourself out of trades. Like if you've been doing this for like a year or something and you try scalping and you see that like trying to be in and out of the market messes with your psychology too much, then you might try intraday. Or if you try holding trades for way too long, then you might just try scalping or more intraday, because your psychology can't take the fact that you're just going in and out of fluctuation consistently for so fucking long. So it's a really tricky thing on trying to figure out like what type of trader you are. But if you're intraday, this would have been your move. If you're a scalper, this would have been your move, because this came after the market open. Market's already in play. This one came before market open. Market open happens here, and you have all of this like nastiness that happens, and eventually it flows. Again, obviously you would have profited way more, but you would have dealt with way less. But that is the two ways that you actually do backtest. So that's the two ways that I've learned to backtest, where you can bar replay it and see like how you could have got in, for example, on a move like this, or you can just have it up and see what type of analysis or how the market does play off your technicals once you do draw them up. So like, for example, you would see this all happening right here. Okay, cool. This is where your entry could have been. What makes that valid, right? What reason do you have to make this one valid in comparison to this one, or in comparison to this one, or in comparison to this one? Like, what reasoning do you have to make those ones valid would be your biggest thing. And personally, I think for right now, I think the market still has a pretty decent chance of selling off, because yes, we did have a breakout of that trend line. Granted, we're not below the MA. We didn't break support. I think there is a chance that it does go down because the market is not really wanting to pass through this area. I mean, in general, this is just really messy. I'll give it that, but I think that's a very high chance. But thank you guys for tuning in. I apologize if this video is very long, but this is how you learn how to backtest. As long as this video is at the minimum how long you should be probably studying on the chart per day, at the very minimum. And I know this video wasn't longer than an hour, so at the very minimum you should be doing this on a daily basis, just to actually practice and get the reps in. Especially if you're someone that's new, you need reps, you need chart time. I've had so much chart time that my seat is indented. Like, you have to have that type of chart time at this point when you're trying to take this seriously. I take it very seriously, where this is my money method, and you have to do that. If you want this to be your future thing, you have to make it your future outcome, and the only way you're gonna do that is by giving it a pretty decent amount of time. But again, thank you guys. Please do like and subscribe if you do like this video, or at least leave a comment at the very minimum so I can know what I can fix. Or even if you're like, hey, can you make this video shorter, nigga? Like something like that, you know what I mean? So if you could do that for me, that'd be helpful. Otherwise, please do comment, share, like, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next one.